This is episode 123. My OCD loves that. I am Michael Askins, architect and technologist. And to the right or left, depending on the mirror of the screen, is Chris, professor. And this is the Technology Architecture Solution Engineering Show, IT Pro Tech Talk. We've jammed so much stuff into these beginnings that, the last show we had, I thought of this, Chris, and I have this as a big sticky note. And right on the left-hand side on my sticky note, it says, it's going to be a hard benchmark to beat the last show.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, just getting it out there, we're already hearing so much great stuff about it. It's really exciting. Hopefully to our listeners, we can pull in one more special guest before we're done with this series.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for it. It was definitely really fun and exciting, and I learned a lot too. I'm in technology. This stuff's around us all the time. And I just can't help but absorbing all the stuff we did. So thank you again, Jeff, for joining us last week. But we do have some housekeeping. Housekeeping. Do you know what I forgot last week? Do you remember what I forgot last week?
No.
Because I forgot it. I'm sure you forgot it. The magic show. We're going to have the magic word for the show.
No. Remember, Jeff gave it.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but
all right. I didn't know if that. I didn't know if that was for the pre-run or the actual, because when I was listening
to shoot, yeah, that's right. That's funny. I'm confusing them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we got to come up with a word for the last show. We'll put it in here now. So I think innovation.
It's you're reading my mind, dude. I was thinking the exact same thing, and really it caters so nicely to Jeff's simplicity of breaking down innovation versus ingenuity and those types of things, right? Or invention, I think we use, not in ingenuity. But yeah, no, I mean, his ability to simplify some of these tasks and topics for the layperson just make him so great at what he does. So just great to have him on, and I know that he's doing some great things out there too.
Yep. And to show that everything's totally not scripted, I'm actually going to make you a single presenter while I fix this weird lighting thing that's going on. It's really killing me, man. So
you got to close your shades on your sunroof or something. Told you to stop recording from your car.
so it's a talking head, just you or just me right now. Let's make it just you. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's fix this lighting stuff going on here.
Yeah, no. And so jumping into some of the things that we do need to discuss today, some exciting announcements. I think first and foremost, probably most people have heard, but maybe not. Our new M365 Copilot is going GA on November 1st, where all of the Office suite will have a Copilot feature. To help you spin up a quick PowerPoint presentation, or whip up a power pivot table, or pivot table. I the language is just totally off. Or helping you with some email and things like that, right? And so this is something. It's probably the most anticipated announcement that I've been a part of, since joining Microsoft almost 5 years ago now. People are just so excited for it. We had people banging on the door because they wanted to be in the early adopter program, and I know that people are just super, super excited about this announcement.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited for it. We had Fabric, now we have this. We got like the it's never ending, right? And it's good to see we have installed from an innovation perspective, or at least Microsoft has installed from an innovation perspective, adding more and more capabilities. Also, some of the AI stuff that is built into Power Automate. I just want to kind of tag that along with this, because there's the AI builder inside of there. You kind of can work hand in hand with some of the data sets on the other side of the house too, right?
Right, yeah. And you said a magic word in there too, Fabric, right? Where you're going to see just a ton of stuff come out at Ignite, and we're about a month from there, right? So, if the folks haven't signed up yet for Ignite, you can attend virtually. It is completely sold out from an in-person standpoint. I probably had a half dozen customers reach out and looking for passes to be able to get there, and we can't get there. It is very, very limited capacity, but looking forward to some awesome announcements. And I have to think that the theme's going to be somewhere around AI. I don't know, just a guess.
Yeah. If it's anything like the Inspire Partner conference, I would bet the back 40, the farm, the whole bit that it's going to be the year of AI.
Yeah, I'm just waiting till we rebrand ourselves as AI instead of Microsoft. Uh, and let's see, the other cool thing that was released is new ways to interact with ChatGPT, right? So
Mhm.
I think it was maybe 2 shows ago we talked about how the GPT-4 model was being
Yep.
released for paid subscribers to ChatGPT, and that's still the case. You still can't use it as a free subscriber. But now, over the next couple of weeks here, we're going to start seeing audio and video capability to be able to interface with the tools. And so I think, when we start talking about really accessibility, right, and helping folks with disabilities who might not be able to type, this just takes it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you start thinking about UI UX. I think these technologies is going to change the role that a UI UX individual will think
Oh,
of things.
absolutely.
Like, we look at usability and people that are hard of sight, or when you start layering in these tools, that's a whole nother layer that UI UX folks need to consider.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
everything from applications to websites to mobile apps to just your run of the mill .NET app that's running out there. I mean, usability and where things are at is important, but now how do you integrate these so that they're accessible to people that need accessibility requirements? So I
Yeah.
just kind of talked in a big circle there, but it's just a whole new tool set for this.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because it speaks to during the summer we started to hear, oh, Chat GPT has lost its luster, people are moving away from it, it's they're going to competitors, blah blah blah. Well, the fact is we're back in school, we're back in full semester. my
Yep.
my students got a chuckle at the fact that the Chat GPT consumption numbers are way back up, right? And
Yep.
I think there's a direct correlation there. But on top of that, I think people are also finding new and creative ways to use it. People are now just discovering it, right? They haven't had a chance. I know I've got some friends and colleagues that I almost fall over when they tell me they're not using it. And I'm just like, how are you not, right? It gives you that 70 to 80% of what you would have to do manually just for you, right? So
Yep.
that's just crazy to me. And I think we're starting to see more of that too.
Yeah, I edit a lot of the video and things that we do with Adobe products, and the latest update that came on had, hey, use our conversational tool to help you be better at. So like I tested it, like I had an image, I was like, change the saturation 5 steps,
Hmm.
apply a mosaic effect to this region, and darned it if it wasn't just spot on perfect.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, and we're starting to use the Copilot feature in Teams now a lot more too, right? Just to help with note summarization,
Yep.
conversation summarization. It's so if I'm taking notes and that's what I'm there to do, I'm actually quite thorough. If I have more of a discussion role, where I need to kind of listen and process and then return, I'm terrible at note taking, right? And
Yep.
so this just takes care of it for me.
Yep.
I was never big on recording meetings unless the customer specifically wanted us to because of whatever, a presentation or a demo because their VP wasn't available. We'd certainly help out with that type of stuff. But now, we just ask the customer, hey, do you mind if we record this so that, that our, not ChatGPT, but our Copilot can summarize the call for us and make sure we assign any action items. So it's certainly changing the way we work very, very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Agree. I'm a Teams premium user just because I want to consume all the features. And I like the custom rooms and stuff. And this is not related to the topic, but have you set up your avatar yet?
I have, and maybe I can drop it on one episode for you. I think he looks pretty good, but I don't use it. But
I don't either.
some people get creeped out by him. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun little thing.
My first experience with the avatar was on the Microsoft Bicep community call. One of the presenters were on there and they were an avatar, and I was like, interesting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and I think that plays in nicely to our last sort of news item here. Did you know that very soon I'll be able to chat with Tom Brady directly anytime I want?
Really?
Yeah, imagine that.
Why would you?
Meta's big announcement, right? Where they're paying celebrities up to $5 million to use their likeness as basically an avatar in the metaverse, as well as part of their I guess deeper foray into AI. With chatbots, we can now chat with said celebrities as part of the pilot program. But ultimately, the plan is to have avatars for said celebrities, with their voices as well, to be able to actually chat with them in the metaverse. And I mean, it's an interesting, I guess, maybe lateral step from where they were pushing so hard on the metaverse for a while there, and trying different ways of engagement. I mean, there's going to be a lot of money invested. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I'm excited to talk to Tom. I mean, look, I don't know if you realize this, but Tom and I share the same birthday. He's a year older than me, but he's literally 1 year older than me. We're roughly the same height, roughly the same weight. And we just took different career paths, earlier in our days. So it's.
So I could be talking to Tom right now.
You could, and all of that is very true information. It's exciting. I'm curious to see where it goes. I got to be honest with you. I've never jumped into the metaverse, but I'm somewhat interested to see where this goes with the new Oculus that's rumored to be coming out. It's supposed to be lighter, more powerful, cheaper, blah blah blah. Obviously Apple Vision Pro, they're coming out with a lighter model supposedly, and there's some really interesting things happening here, and I'll be curious to see how it all comes together, especially with this explosion of AI.
So that would be like the most excellent segue between one of our topics here, but I got a couple filler pieces I need to put in between that, because I think we're going to talk a little bit about the HoloLens later. But so another housekeeping note and sort of tech news. If you follow either of us on the LinkedIn or the Twitterverse or Threads or what have you, you'll notice that I released the podcast as a video on a YouTube channel. So just if you're a longtime listener, it'll help us out tremendously. If you subscribe, go to that YouTube channel. Even if you still want to listen to the audio bits, we got telemetry coming in from all avenues, but we're really putting a focus on some of the video because the one video we put up had some graphics. So we're looking to do a little bit more of that in the future. But if you could go visit that, I'll put a link down in the show notes. I almost said doobly-doo, dating myself there, but I'll put it down below along with all other relevant links. But just a quick recap. We talked about the Jeff show. That was brilliant. Loved it. We had the first show on Industry 4.0 was sort of a primer definition. Let's define it. Let's talk through it. And then we just kept rolling through all the different conversations. And here today, we're settling on engaging the customer, because that is one of the key pillars of Industry 4.0. And
absolutely.
So the question is like, what do we do to have positive customer interactions? Is there things that we need to consider if we're looking at what, in consideration of our previous show? And if you haven't, I'll put a link down below. Go listen to that, then listen to this. There's a whole history of how we got to here. and you can see over time that the customers are engaging with businesses different ways. It's not just going to LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, Facebook, and saying, hey, I'm on a customer page or a business page, and like resolving issues. Or I like to tell the story how I was 30,000 feet in the air and my next flight was canceled, and I just mentioned Delta Airlines about I'm going to miss my flight, and somebody DM'd me and took care of it. That is things that we take for granted as commodity. That's stuff that we just eat and breathe, our terminal onlineness. But we need to engage and have positive customer interactions if we're going to succeed and move forward. What does that mean, Chris?
Well, I think of the automated phone system, right? When I think about this, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody who appreciates an automated phone system, right?
Sure.
And if it's intuitive, if it understood natural language, if it understood natural speech, if you could, really have a conversation that meant something and wasn't just sort of one way, asynchronous, to use a technical term, right?
Mhm.
um it 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 would be much better, I think, right? I think the experience would be much more appreciated by said customer, and that could be a B2B customer, could be a B2C customer, right? There's a whole bunch of different ways that could be looked at. Um, and And when we start to engage customers in different ways, where we, meet the customer where they are, is a term that gets frequently used in business, and even consumers, making those customized experiences so that they feel like you're there with them. You're taking the journey with them, whatever it happens to be. If we can enable that with technology, I would argue that you could put a pretty high price tag on that type of experience.
I agree. Yeah. And part of me thinks that I think that it was tried with the technology in the past, like with, and I'm not going to call out the communications company. Let's just say they have red in the logo. I can say that because pretty much everyone has red in the logo.
True.
They
Yeah.
they tried to engage with customers like with the automated prompting and the bot saying, "What's your problem?" and trying to automatically test things, and people get frustrated. I think what you keyed on is the pleasant experience.
You're right. Right.
That's the
Yeah.
key bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's person to person 101, right? If you can have um if you have that conversation with a person, they're not just talking at you, they're talking with you, and
Yep.
you're responding. That goes a long way. And with some of the technologies that are being deployed with Industry 4.0, we start to see that more and more. Just for example, you mentioned HoloLens earlier, and that was by no means. It just so happened that was part of the conversation when we talked about Meta and Quest, and I'm sorry, Oculus, and the Apple device, which is the same price as a HoloLens, by the way.
Hmm.
And I would argue we have way more functionality. Um, but it's more geared toward business. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like, okay, well, why are we using an AR VR headset for business? Well, I mean, there are too many reasons to list. But if you can think about an experience that you're having with a customer where, you start a Teams meeting with them, they're seeing your face, and then you turn around and you can flip the camera to the device to be able to demonstrate something. So I'll use one of my customers, for example. They're an industrial cutting company, so they do plasma cutting, water cutting, things like that, right? And so they're asking the question, how can we use this device to enhance that customer experience? And there's a bunch of ways, but you think about maintenance, you think about the ability to have a demonstration of a product without having to travel. You think about repairing a product if it's broken. You think about just plain user experience, where they get the ability to have that sort of firsthand, and I keep using the word experience over and over again, but that sort of firsthand, tangible feeling of I'm there with you, right? I'm in the room with you, and I have the opportunity to see what you're seeing hand over hand. And that's just one example. Now, if you take that another level deeper, and you were to build like a guide for a HoloLens, which is essentially a template, if you will, that allows you to get deeper into something. So I'm being a little vague, but if you think of like a old movie, what was it, Minority Report, right, where you could sort of explode it, and you were in the middle of this sort of holographic area. It's very similar to that, right? But it's reality now, where we've got a strong partnership with PTC, and in our MTC centers, we've got a HoloLens display which with an engine, a massive engine. I think it's a ship engine, if I'm not mistaken. For like a cargo ship or something. And you can use that HoloLens to like completely explode out what is happening inside that engine, from a blueprint standpoint, to know where all the different parts are, to know how everything's interconnected, to know how everything kind of fits together and works together. And if you're diagnosing a problem, um, you know, whoever your service tech is, whoever is helping you or assisting you, hand over hand, so that they don't have to fly out. So we're saving you money on your support costs and those types of things. We have this ability to now do all of that and have that experience remotely with our customers.
Yeah, and it can tie to multiple systems. So, like, if you explode that engine, you can look at the rings and say, okay, these rings are this part number. Do we have any in stock? And it can go into your system and say, oh yeah, we have them in stock at the Seattle warehouse, or Shipport, what have you. So that interconnectedness is definitely good, and I kind of liken it as together but afar.
Mhm.
You actually get that help. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the tech to get on a plane, and you might have downtime incurring costs, right? So that's definitely awesome. Now, so from a feasibility perspective to build that out, again, this might be a little dip into the tech section. We want to make this for business and tech, but one of the challenges that I hear, which I kind of discount a little bit, is that the resources and everything required to do that is way more expensive than they want to put in the field.
Mhm.
That's changed since HoloLens come out significantly, right? The which
Yeah.
we're in HoloLens, what, 3 now? Is it? Which version?
I think we're still two. Right? We're
Right?
waiting for three, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So the technology has changed, and if, as everyone knows, as technology changes, it becomes more affordable. So don't undercut the ability to say, hey, let's look at this. I know there's, even on the service industry, in electrical world, there was conversations 5 years ago about potentially using HoloLens to look at, a power grid. Say a pool gets taken out, they're able to look at that, and then query information of what's downstream from that, and what devices are at risk of popping if we don't fix this. And it's definitely achievable. And I think that was one of the things I mentioned at the end of the last show, is like, this stuff is achievable for the every business.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speak to affordability, and with competition comes affordability,
Yeah.
right? And so when things become closer and closer to commodity, and I wouldn't say a HoloLens is quite commodity. I guess it depends where you sit.
It's more niche
But
commodity.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, but as you come closer and closer to this device, you start to see more and more competition around. We give essentially a software development kit for our partners to be able to develop software, or develop what are called guides. I mentioned them earlier, and really that's the design of what that interface looks like when you're using the HoloLens. And so, for anybody who's not familiar, if you by chance watch the Apple Vision Pro demonstration, and having that ability to see things on the screen, to be able to interact with those things on the screen, directly with whether they be different, pointer tools. I mean, it kind of depends on who made it and stuff. But with the HoloLens, we made it to the point where you don't need special controllers. You don't need anything other than the device on your head, and it uses similar features to what you'd use on a phone, like a pinch or a swipe or
Mhm.
a zoom and those types of things. Very, very similar to what we're used to when we go and
Tap,
edit a
double
picture.
tap.
Yep, double tap. Sure, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And the nice thing is that it's all integrated in a very lightweight headset. I know that there have been some sort of mixed articles. I mean, we've got certain authors who that are reporters, if you will, that love to have the doomsday approach to how they look at different Microsoft products. And I'll have customers come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, the government canceled that contract for your HoloLens," and it's like, no, they didn't. It like they're bringing it back and working with the government specifically to make it even better for the soldiers, because yeah, they were wearing them for a very long period of time. And having been a soldier, I know how well we follow instructions. um, and so it comes down to every person's individual user experience. But the reality is, it's here to stay. The industrial metaverse is exploding in excitement, and we've got quite a few, not only partners who are working with our customers, but a lot of customers are adopting this technology to help them, to basically alleviate a lot of the costs, a lot of the pressure, getting rid of travel, making things simpler for their customers, right? There's a lot of benefit that's coming out of this, and it's being adopted very, very rapidly.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the tenets that I'm picking up from, and again, referencing the previous show, is that sometimes it's just looking at things and maybe approaching things a little bit different, which makes industry 4.0. And, if we look at machine learning and some of the stuff we've been talking about in the past 5, 6 years, I'm having conversations with, people that deal with retail, and they're like, well, how do we know? We pay these people to figure out what's going to be put on the shelves. Well, how about you have, you're engaging with customers now. How about you to have them tell you, run some
Right.
analytics, do some machine learning on regions, what's good in that region, and how do we, make sure that the supply chain is supporting that, making sure that we have predictive analytics on things, knowing like, okay, certain aspects of the economy are happening. What does it mean for us to stockpile? And there's so much wrapped just around those areas that affect getting product from the manufacturer to the shelf, let alone the transit in between and the making of it. Right. So if we've done lean manufacturing for forever, right? Or it feels like
Decades,
forever.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But
I
we
mean, I can
next
remember
step
having
forward.
conversations about lean 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
So yeah, no, it's pretty wild. And I think the important thing to note here is that ultimately you're wearing a PC on your head, right?
Yep.
And so and I don't say that in a bad way, because the benefit there is that not only do you have these capabilities we're talking about, having a Teams chat, or being able to watch something as it's being performed live, but you've got that integration with the rest of that Microsoft experience that you're used to, right? And so
Yep.
as we start to think about co-pilots in Office, and co-pilots in Power BI, and all of these tools that are coming out, I mean, the sky's the limit. Just there's so much that can be done to enhance that user experience, and just go so much deeper.
Yep, for sure. And we have on our show notes here, it keeps my eyes just keep dropping on it. Azure Synapse Analytics, the platforms to ingest and do things. I know it's not product heavy this episode, but it's just so easy to say Synapse Analytics, because
Yeah,
it speaks for itself, the capabilities there. So if we're layering in like if I'm going to look at that note there, factories connected to supply chain creates predictable experiences for customers, right? So we're kind of talking a little bit about that, but what does that mean for the plastics manufacturer in southwestern Pennsylvania?
yeah, yeah. And really, whether it's something as simple as getting hands on or eyes on what's happening in that factory, HoloLens is a great mechanism for that. But
Yep.
then it goes so much deeper, as we talked about with Jeff and in our past shows. You start having a more connected experience within your factories, whether you're using IoT, for tracking or sensing different situations, right? Low on stock, high on stock, uh, you know, more having that end to end exposure as to what's happening, whether you're in pre-production, production, post-production, ship, in transit, and all of these different areas where if we have that visibility, it helps us that much more to be able to make predictions based on, whether it's customer demand or it's, required deadlines and timelines for when things will be there. Obviously, if we're shipping something from Asia and we're waiting on a boat, and we're not getting regular updates, which is very, very common. I mean, if you've ever bought anything from one of these Asian websites where you can buy direct, it's a black hole. You could wait 3-4 weeks. For anybody who's ever ordered off something like AliExpress, for instance, right? You could
Alibaba,
wait three, four
AliExpress,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah. You could wait 3-4 weeks before your product comes. Now, the good news is I've actually never had something not come, which is cool. But at the same time, like it literally just becomes this like big gap in the shipping that says, you've got whatever, anywhere from, call it 11 to 22 days when,
Yep.
it's just, you have no idea what's going to happen. Right. And so, having that visibility, when we start looking at how that affects businesses, and we know how much we outsource to Asia and South America and in these sort of far off places from here in the States, you start to see a lot of value in being able to have that visibility into what's happening from a supply chain
Yep.
standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to make it a little bit lighthearted, I've ordered stuff from one of those sites and forgot I ordered it, and I was like surprised. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
what is this?
like Christmas morning. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things I also wanted to touch on is like there's a lot of digital access, right? So every big box store has their app. There's everything is like spec sheets. You can go to manufacturers, and it's more than a trend. It's there. It enables our customers to understand. It's almost like if you don't have that, you're not a real business.
Totally.
So the question becomes this. So we're talking about layering in AI, maybe some ML. There is that person to person with the HoloLens, but are we losing the personal touch, moving even deeper into a digital experience from a customer perspective?
Well, I think, you know, I'll use an example. It's slightly off from what you're saying, but what you're asking. But like, I've got there's certain clothing retailers that I work with because I am, 6'4", me and Tom, right, side by side. And there are certain clothing retailers that I shop specifically because I know their
Sure.
clothes fit and I know that they last. And so um, it's one of my biggest pet peeves because I bought something for my wife one time. I bought her a sweater for Christmas through my account, and now every other email is women's clothing, and clearly that is not intended for me, right? Yeah, and maybe I want to go buy something for my wife, and I don't buy a lot of clothes for her. She wants to buy her own clothes, um, and you know, I don't have that capability to go in there and personalize that experience to say, I don't want 3 emails a day because you have this sale going on, and
Yeah.
I don't want 2 of those to be for women's clothing. And if you don't have that capability, then you lose the customer, and so I don't even look at the emails anymore. I just delete them when they come in because, what I do is in the back of my head, I wait until I know I need to buy something. I needed to buy some pants, right? And so I just waited until I got that, 40% off sale, and boom, I jumped on it. But otherwise, they just immediately go to trash
Mm,
because I cannot personalize that experience so that, I only get once a week or once a month and things like that. And so back to your question, I think it really comes down to the way that it gets applied. right?
Mhm.
If the organization takes care to allow for the customer to dictate their own experience, I think that the opportunities are limitless.
Yeah.
But if we're just forcing it on the customer and forcing them to like what they've configured for us, then I think you have a problem. And
Yeah.
so let me just tie off this thought,
Yep.
but you have the ability, with a lot of these tools to very, very granularly define a lot of those elements, to be able to create those configurations, to be able to give your customers that opportunity to essentially set up what they want that experience to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a I think one of the largest retailers. I'm not going to say their name. Um, Orange and black logo. They allow you to go into your browsing history and your purchase history and say, "Oh no, this was a gift," or "No, I don't. I didn't want to search." So that it keeps it there. It's like archived off the side, but it doesn't affect like the recommendations for you, because like
Mhm.
we went to Maui a few years ago, and I was buying flippers for everyone, and I was getting like kids pool toys for like, and I had to go in my browser history, or not my browser history, my purchase and search
Yeah,
history, and delete all that stuff, because I want technology, I want stuff for the wood shop, I want stuff for the metal shop. I don't want flipper ads. I already got the flippers, so to
right,
your
right.
point, having that, and I think the last point I wanted to touch on this area is like, what are the risks? What are the risks of these engagement styles? And I think you called it out. You
Yeah,
summed it up as the risk is aggravating your customer. Uh,
right.
you know,
Yeah,
and if you think of it this way too, it's like if you look at it from a business to business perspective. So, say you're a factory and you're making steel for a window company, and you don't cater to what their need is so that they can quickly get to the point and get what they need, or pop the HoloLens on and look at an extrusion type in real time. If you're not providing them what they need and it's too difficult, they'll go to somebody that makes it easy for them.
absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. And you never want to be in a situation where a customer has to choose you because you're the only option,
Yep.
right? You want them to choose you because of the experience that they're going to receive. And so if you're the only option, that's not going to last very long, because
Nope.
another option is going to come along and they're going to replace you. I mean, I'm
Yep.
still racking my head about what orange and black yellow logo you're even talking about, uh, it really it look it's actually a pretty simple problem to solve, right? If you give customers what they want, they're going to come back time and time again,
Yep.
right? And I think that when we were talking about a lot of the chat GPTs and copilots and things like that to start the show here, and we've certainly got a leg up, right? But if we don't do it the right way, and we don't ensure that our customers are getting the best experience, then it's it's going to fail, because
Yeah.
there is a ton of competition out there,
Yeah.
and so for our customers out there who didn't get into the early access program per se, we're going GA, but it's because we wanted to make sure it was a controlled release, to
Hmm.
make sure that we didn't inundate our systems and really our support systems, to help those customers, and to make sure that we had captured all the information before we go GA, right?
Yep.
It's certainly private preview, public preview, all those previews we talk about in the various platforms and clouds that we have. They're there for a reason. It's to ensure that the best possible experience comes out when it does go to be generally available.
Yeah, it's getting ahead of it. It's making sure it's doable. Like I had a couple how tos on loop, and that was the thing. I had to give a full instruction on how to enable it for you, so you can like kick the tires. And it was difficult for some people because it's not just for regular consumption yet. So, I mean,
Right.
it's there now, but at the time, it wasn't for regular consumption, and that's the good thing. And I think Microsoft takes a great approach. There are some other tech companies that do that too as well, uh, but I think I see the responsibility being handled. And this might be, I might be speaking out of turn, but this might be because of some of the black eyes Microsoft got back in the day, back in the NT4 days, where they were just like, patch go, software
Right.
update go, and then we had to deal with the fallout of that. And I think since Satya came, and some of the controls and controlled releases make it a far better experience.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. And
yep,
it's it's really catered to ensure that the customer has the optimal customer experience.
yep,
Now, it's not going to be for everybody, right? I mean, it's still a consumer driven space where features and tooling and all of those things are designed to satisfy the majority of our customers' needs. And so I think user voice is a great outlet for people to be able to go and say, I want this feature. Really, the first sort of iterations of that were with Power BI, and we want these features, and they listened, right? And you'd get thousands of votes for a specific feature, and then when the next roadmap conversation came out, it was on the roadmap, and
yep,
I think that that's been largely adopted, that approach in general, in order to, instead of having our product groups dictate what should come out, instead it's what features are most beneficial. And you know what? We may never get all of them, right?
right,
There are just certain things that happens behind the scenes that you'll never even understand because it's some legal loophole that we couldn't jump through, and all
yeah,
those types of things. I like certain Power BI connectors, for instance, just aren't available and never will be available just due to licensing restrictions.
yep,
And you gotta dig deep into blogs and Reddit and all that kind of stuff to find that stuff. But it's pretty clear and obvious
yep.
that just if somebody doesn't want to play nice in the sandbox, it's just not going to work for everybody.
For sure. And here's my self-serving kind of messaging too is um, speak to your friendly neighborhood expert. Make sure that you're deploying this stuff that meets your requirements, but also checks the boxes of your policies and governance controls for your organization. So I know there are some engagements around GPT. There's some engagements around Copilot to successfully launch it in your organization with that same controlled release. Microsoft has, you as your organization should have that same controlled release, especially if you're building Power Platform things that have some of this embedded in it. You want to make sure that what you're scraping is allowed and proper because you don't want your systems scraping HR stuff and serving it up to your customers on a Power App. That would be bad.
Right, right. Yeah, we're going to try to avoid
Yeah,
that.
it's a resume generating event for sure.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
and I mean, to your point, right? It's there are experts who can help lead you through this, right? And some may be free, right? Some may be as part of your services that you already pay for, and some of them, you may have to pay a little bit for, but the cost that you're going to pay for that expert to come in and even just give you guidance and advice is going to be a heck of a lot less than if you have to completely rework a project or start from scratch or just abandon it altogether and sink
Pay a
that
fine
cost.
or pay a
Yeah,
fine.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, it really depends the space that you're in, with those things you got to work with. But, definitely take some of those measures to ensure that you stay out of hot water.
Yep. I know we're kind of up against the time. Any final bullet points or notes you want to shoot out there?
No, I mean, I know that we didn't like drill deep into sort of all of the use cases and things like that. But that's not really what we're here to do. I don't think. I think it's really to kind of bring awareness to some of the ways that we are, enabling our customers. Right. And we use a couple of use cases that make it interesting. But if you're curious about a certain industry or a certain use case or something, reach out to us, right? I mean, we're
Yep.
here. We want to talk to you about it. We will, and maybe we'll feature it on the show, right? And get listener feedback going or something like that. More than happy to discuss, use cases. Sometimes going to be a little obscure in the way I discuss them and stuff like that. But more than
Yeah.
happy to help out. So definitely let us know.
Yeah, we're really good at hiding the name of your company and all the vulnerabilities that are there.
Yeah,
We don't
right.
we, we don't want to take that on. So again, thanks again, Chris. I love working these shows with you, and it always makes me think because I'm thinking of like, oh yeah, I have like these use cases coming out my head. I was like, I'll just put it on a written article and attach it to a link here, and then get that conversation going. We really want engagement. Like and subscribe on the video side. I need a word for the show.
Let's go with unsubscribe.
Ooh, I don't like that word. I like subscribe.
That's what happens if you don't cater to what your customer wants.
That is true. That is true. So unsub is the word. Thank you again as listeners and viewers. We really appreciate it, especially since we're really putting a focus on some of the video side. So definitely appreciate you there. You can find us online. Please engage with us. We love talking. This last show we just dropped had a little bit of engagement on my LinkedIn. I'm hoping to keep that going. It just makes awareness for all. So with that being said, thank you all, and we'll see you on the next go.
Bye, guys.
Bye.